Welcome to the Sharpe Way show. So happy to have you with me today. A little bit past, right at 7 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm on time. Look at me go. And I know some of you are going to be unhappy with me tonight. I know. Today was supposed to be a keto show. I know it was. It is not a keto show, and I apologize for that. It's not a keto show today. And the reason why it's not a keto show today is because there's too much stuff going on. I can't make it a keto show today. It's just too much stuff going on prior to the election. I promise I will still do a keto show. It'll just be after the election, probably next week. That's all. I know it's supposed to be. So I apologize for that. I know I said it. Clearly, I'm a liar. But anyway, I'm trying to not be a liar. I just want to make sure that I'm able to give you some interesting stuff. And boy, there's interesting stuff going on. And there's some validation happening also, by the way, some validation. I've been telling you about why things were happening, when they're happening, those types of things. And boy, are they coming on. They absolutely are. The thing I wanted to bring up was I told you, if you remember, that Harris was making a mistake not going on Joe Rogan. And many of you teased me about it. You went, no, she'll get destroyed. Terrible idea, blah, blah. What are you thinking now that JD Vance just went on a show? I haven't even seen it. It's a 3-hour, 4-hour freaking interview. I haven't watched the whole thing. But again, more momentum for Trump. Now, if you support Trump, life is good. This is going great. If you like Harris, you got to be worried right now. I mean, momentum is going in his direction. And this stuff isn't helping, right? If you're a Harris supporter, right? Trump is getting JD Vance on is probably not going to match the same, 40, 50 million, whatever the views are, or whatever they are now, right? I don't think Vance will match that. But if he gets half of that, if he winds up getting 20 million, 10 million even, but whatever number he gets, that's a bunch more millions that either one or two things will happen. There'll be people who weren't sure and decided, yeah, I'm going to go with this. That's option one. Option two is people who maybe weren't going to vote, who are now motivated to vote. There will be more people voting for Trump because of that. What's that number? I don't know. But say it's just 100,000. Say it's 10,000. I mean, whatever the number is. I don't know what that number is. Oh my God, is that going to count? Particularly in swing states. If he gets 3,000 more people to vote for him because of this in Pennsylvania, that could be the entire thing. That could be the entire thing, right? Who knows? Who knows? So I think the answer was that. And I want to make a point because The Hill did a piece on this today. And I want you to look at that. And I want to talk about that on how they picked up. Remember, this is a lefty and a righty together talking about the same issue. Same issue. By the way, you know you're going to like it. So do me a favor. Click the like button. Press the button known as like. Yes, do that now if you would, please. A bunch of the clicky clicks, please, if you would. Also, if you haven't shared it yet, share this either on Twitter or on Facebook. Please do so. You know, we'll super chat me if you want to get your chat right to the front. You can subscribe if you haven't already. Why wouldn't you subscribe? Either follow me on Facebook or Twitter and or subscribe on YouTube. All of those things are good and they're free. Just do them. Don't cost you nothing. It's all good. And I love membership. You want to be a member? Love that. Click that membership. Click join. $5 a month. I keep going. And eventually, coming up probably after the election, I will have some member-only content as a reward for those of you who decided to become a member. Either way, I do want to bring this up if I can, real fast. This part, I think let's go over it and we'll discuss it because this shows both sides talking about the same thing. Remember, this is The Hill, so lefty and a righty talking about the same thing.
Kamala Harris has not accepted Joe Rogan's invite to come on his #1 podcast in the nation with over 17 million listeners. This week, he dished on how it all went down. Here he is.
There we go.
She had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull, party on. If I go somewhere, then there's going to be other.
Now, that piece to me is crazy. I told you all. You thought I was joking. I said he wants her to come on. Not because necessarily the cash, right? He wants to be the influencer. I get it. Joe Rogan realizes he has influence. I understand. I'd like to have his influence. I wish I had Joe Rogan's influence, right? Of course. And he knows that. And he wants to be that, right? That piece that he tried, he said, out anytime. If Joe Rogan wants me on, he can tell me anytime and I will show up. Like it's literally the reverse. He would say, Larry, I need you here November 20th at 2 a.m. I'd be like, done. I will be there. Yes. Fine. I don't care what I'm doing. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to show up and go on a show if Joe, if you're listening, anytime. Anyway, I would just go. He's doing the opposite to her. He's like, anytime, noon, midnight, fine, yes. And she didn't show when she was in Texas. She didn't show. Now, the worst part about that is not only did she not gain his audience, but now he's talking about it. So what does his audience see this as? His audience sees this as a snub. And I say, Larry, is that really the end of the world? Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. If you love Harris, you would probably still vote for Harris, right? This isn't going to stop you if you love Harris. But a lot of people don't love Harris. They don't know her well or know her a little bit or whatever, or they just hate Trump or whatever. And now she snubs one of their guys. Could you imagine if somebody snubbed Beyonce? Think about how bad people were mad when people were snubbing Taylor Swift. Now you're going to snub Joe Rogan. You're actually hurting yourself, right? You're actually hurting yourself.
Other people in the room, and they want to control a lot of things, I'm sure, according to the Brett Breyer interview on Fox. Like, people were waving them off. That's a distraction. People in the room, like, my whole goal with her and with him was just talk, just have a conversation like a human being.
I don't think he's lying. I think he's telling the truth. I don't think he would have been harsh on her. Might he have pushed back here or there? Yeah, a little bit. Maybe more than Trump. Maybe, because I think he aligns more with what Trump is thinking than what Harris is thinking. I think that's accurate. But I don't think he would have been hard to her. He wouldn't have been. She just would have had to have an actual conversation. That's what they were afraid of.
You find out things about people. You get a sense of them, at least, a real sense. That was it. I don't give a what we talk about. I really don't. I just want to talk to you. Who the are you?
Team approached Rogan for the Democratic nominee to come on the Joe Rogan Experience, but only after former President Donald Trump sat down with the famed podcaster.
That means in reality, since they talked afterwards, they were hoping that Trump wouldn't do it. They were hoping that Trump and Rogan wouldn't do it. But then once they realized, oh my God, they're doing it, now her team was savvy to go, if he's doing it, we got to do it. And it was probably an internal fight. There was an internal fight within the Harris campaign. I'm sure of this. And half of them were going to whatever number. We're going, you got to do this. Are you nuts? You got to do this. And then she was like, well, no, I don't want to. And half the half of her team who was like, don't do it, clearly won.
Last Friday, October 25th. Meanwhile, Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, recorded an interview Wednesday, and it's set to air tomorrow, giving the Trump campaign another boost heading into Election Day.
Well, I mean, my view of this is that Kamala Harris did miss an opportunity by...
Did you hear what he just... This is the lefty. This guy's the left guy. And he says, she missed an opportunity. So it isn't just me saying it, right? It isn't just Republicans saying it. It's him, Mr. Lefty guy goes, yeah, she screwed up. She should have gone, right? She should have gone.
Not going on with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's podcast with Donald Trump on YouTube alone has 41 million views right now. I don't know really why you would turn down an audience of that size unless you were convinced it was going to be completely skewed against you.
Now, to be forward, is it possible that there's people on her team who have spent so much time in their own bubble that they have decided that, Joe Rogan is some kind of evil guy who will destroy her? Maybe, right? But if anyone is actually paying attention, he wasn't going to destroy her. Was there a chance she could look bad? Yes. Or look boring? Worse? Yes. But just the odds of just getting 41 million sets of eyeballs, so 81 million eyes, take it. What are you doing? Particularly if you're in trouble. Rocket Man, you just brought one of the most important pieces. Rocky Mater says her team is mostly lawyers. Yeah, lawyers are by default pessimistic. Lawyers are by default scared. Correct. By default. When you find lawyers that aren't, yes, that's true. Bingo. Jennifer says it. Lawyers are horrible. I'm not going to go there. I'm not saying they're horrible. I worked for them since 19. But yes, they are very pessimistic, worried about the peace. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. 100%.
You can argue, I think, that Rogan's views probably have more in common with the right than the left, although, of course, he did endorse Bernie Sanders back in 2020.
He was a lefty at one point.
But to me, it's a missed opportunity. I think the dispute or the argument as to whether Rogan should go to her or not, that you can debate that either way. I think he could have gone to her, but I take her.
No, I disagree. Trump went to him. Harris should have gone to him. Period. Whatever Harris did, that Shannon Sharpe garbage thing she did had no value. Take the time out of that. Instead of going there, go to Rogan. Absolutely. Yes.
His point about people in the room. We've all, sadly not getting 41 million viewers, but we've all done interviews where there's like a comms person or a PR person sitting in the room. And it does make, I think, for a less revealing interview than would otherwise happen.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it is telling as well that she only reached out to Rogan's team after he was doing the Trump interview, because if I recall correctly, there were actually reports that she was in talks to do the interview before Trump was confirmed. And he's saying, no. Actually, she reached out after we were already confirmed to be doing the Trump interview, which shows she was cognizant of how powerful of an interview that this could potentially be. But I mean, you asked the question, why wouldn't she do it? And I mean, to me, the answer is obvious. I don't think she can. They tried to negotiate only doing an hour, which everybody knows. If you watch Joe Rogan regularly, it's 2, 3, sometimes even 4-hour episodes, because he does not want to be limited on time. He likes to.
Well, it's funny, right? When you're Rogan, you can do that kind of thing. You go, no, I want 2 or 3 hours, right? I want 2 or 3 hours for most of my guests too, but I'm not Rogan, so I don't always get that. But yeah, I mean, I think, and you guys have seen my shows, they're almost all my shows are over an hour, right? Some of them go past 2, but most of them between an hour and 2 hours, most of them are. And sometimes that isn't enough time. You see it. There's still more to talk about. Deep conversations, having different stuff going on. I completely agree.
Get deep into topics. He likes to cover a lot of ground. And I don't buy her excuse, or I guess the implied excuse that he would be tough on her. That's not really his style. He likes to just ask his guests questions and let them talk. And he'll push back occasionally if he feels like they're not answering. But I just don't think that she has enough canned lines in the knapsack to be able to last 3 hours. I think it's as simple as that.
So I think that's a bit unfair to her personally. I do think in the case of Rogan.
Okay, he's a defender. Well, he's a lefty. He should defend her. He's a Democrat. He should defend her. I get it. Good. But I think her point is valid. And this is the point that I was saying. If you remember right, what I was saying all the time. She does have canned lines. And to be forward, I see us joking. She's like canned lines laughing. Yes, but it's true, right? That's real, right? He wasn't laughing at that, but it's real. But to be forward, she is good at that. That's her strength. Her strength is get the canned lines, line it up, and say it. And I said this weeks ago, if you remember. I said you have your team go through every single Joe Rogan interview that any with politics ever, every hour. If that's 20 hours, if that's 400 hours, I don't care. They go through it all. Come up with all the possible questions you could possibly believe, and then drill her so that she has a canned line for virtually everyone. So she has stories she can tell. Drill her, make her, she's a prosecutor, have her memorize, she's a lawyer. Lawyers can memorize stuff. Have her memorize stuff, right? That's the piece. Have her memorize it, and then have her say some of these cool stories. She'll screw some of them up because she's not a good candidate. She'll make some errors. However, if you're on her team, you know this, and you go, good. As long as I get more positive sound bites than negative sound bites, if I got like 2 or 3 to 1, I still win. I could still win the interview. This was completely a lost opportunity. He is correct. He's absolutely correct. Yes, would have been hard for her. Yes. But worth it? Yes. Absolutely.
If anything, I think the problem is he doesn't push back enough sometimes. Now, I know he doesn't want ultra confrontational interviews. He wants to have a conversation and all of that. I do think that he let Trump away with some stuff that he could have pressed more firmly back on. But in relation to Harris, I tend to think it's not that she can't do it. I don't.
Look at his body language when they changed to because he doesn't like what he's saying. He knows it's right. His body language changed immediately. He was like, I think it's unfair, because he did feel bad when he heard it. Then he was, well, it's not this. I got to figure something out here because I don't want my person to look bad.
I think it's that the campaign is risk averse. So
that's true.
I remember being on this show talking about Trump's interview with Rogan. And my point is, in a 3-hour conversation, people are not expecting you to be word perfect or to give every single answer, that there can be no, ambiguity, or you never mess up the phrasing. People are looking for a sense of you as a person. And that's why I think she should have done it. It seems to me that her campaign is reluctant because they are just too wary of
how bad she is. I don't mean to be cruel when I say that, but we know it's true, right? We do know that that's accurate. She's not a good candidate and she struggles, right? She's not a good candidate and she struggles. It's true. But again, unless I've missed something, and perhaps I have, right? I'm not perfect, as wonderful as I am. I am not perfect. And maybe they have some inside info somehow that says she's winning. I don't know. I can't imagine that. But I mean, maybe. If not that, this is a mistake. The momentum is with Trump now, and people like winners. They want to vote for winners. And more importantly, Frank Luntz said this. And Frank Luntz is very open and honest, and he's actually scared. Scared about the whole country in general, not just about the election, but in general, he's scared. He believed, and he said this, remember, I brought this up. He said after the debate, he thought Trump had lost the election. It was so bad that he lost the election. He turned around. He goes, I was wrong. He said it. He goes, I was wrong. That's not true. He goes, I was wrong. He goes, it was a bad, debate, and he did lose the debate, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and Harris has not capitalized on anything, which is what I said. I was like, Harris, you had the momentum. After that debate, Harris should have capitalized that momentum, thrown out Beyonce, and gone back into the basement. It's what I said. Go back in the basement. Only come out when you're prepped the same way you're prepped like that. She didn't do that. She got the fever. She thought she's awesome now. I'm gonna go out there and be awesome. And she got her ass kicked the basement in every interview she ever did, and hasn't learned a lesson since. I bet her team is all pissed off and now doesn't believe in it anymore. And that's why I didn't go on Rogan. And boy, so even he says it. He's like, she's not doing the right thing. He's worried. And he says one more thing, which I believe. Luntz says that there really aren't any more undecided, meaning, am I going to vote for Harris or Trump? He says the undecided now are people, are they actually going to vote or not? That's what Luntz says. And he does not just polling, he does focus groups. So he does both, a nice combo. He's like, look, people are now saying it doesn't even matter anymore, right? Who cares? Or people who were going to vote third party and now are like, do I even want to vote third party anymore? Right? So what about all those libertarians, right? What about all those Greens? What about all those independents? What about all the RFK Jr. supporters? Are they now going to just say it doesn't matter anymore? Are they going to go do that? He says that's the biggest chunk down in swing states to worry about, to motivate them to actually go up and vote. And how do I know that? There's some truth to that. You're seeing it if you look online. There's a lot of people who are literally showing their ballots. Why? To motivate the people who they know are like, I'm gonna watch Netflix that day, man. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And I get the feeling. I have it too. I get the feeling. It is a real feeling that a small chunk, but in this case, a big enough chunk of Americans are actually thinking, it doesn't matter. Who cares? My vote doesn't matter. A lot of people feel that. This kind of Joe Rogan thing from both first Trump and then Vance does move people, particularly, and this is their issue, young men. They are focusing on young men. That is what the Trump campaign's focusing on. And this will motivate the young men to get up and vote. Men don't vote to the amount that women do. Not men, fewer men by percentage and by overall are registered to vote, and fewer men vote every single time. And young men, some of the worst when it comes to voting. Older women, some of the best when it comes to voting. So they are focusing on young men. This kind of thing's the right answer. And do I think if Harris hadn't shown up and did a mediocre job, that it would have all of a sudden changed all those men over? No. But it might have changed a couple of them, and that's all you need. Or gotten some to not be sure anymore. Or gotten some to just say, scratch it, I don't care anymore. Any of those. So, yes, any of that, only this would have worked. So, yes. Anyway, I hope that made sense. I want to grab a couple of comments before I get to the next piece, which is the woman's side, right? And by the way, if you haven't hit the like button, do so, please. Like button does matter. Let me grab a couple of these comments if I could. Sue says, hello from Portugal. Oh, I'm glad that you're watching. Larry, thank you for all that you do. Share this chat on X. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All excellent. So Shelly says, Vance on Rogan just thought, yeah, I'm going to watch it afterwards. It's 4 hours. I'm going to watch it maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight I'll listen to it or something. I'll figure it out. I'll see if I want to talk about it tomorrow. I don't know. Depends how good it is. If I want to talk about it tomorrow or not, I might. I'm not going to show it to you tomorrow because in 4 hours plus my commentary, it's an 8-hour show. I'm not Mike Voss. I don't do 75-hour shows. Only he does. That's not me. So yeah, maybe he'll do it. Watch his show for like 17 hours. He'll start Sunday. He'll end by like Tuesday. He'll end by election day. He'll start Sunday. He'll end by election day. It'll be fine. You'll love it. You'll be watching. It's fine. It's good. Lady Liberty, thank you so much. I'm Liberty Lady. Sorry. Thank you for being a member. Hey, Sharpies, liked and shared on all socials. Plus, I'm a Sharpie for the month. Someone gifted me a sub. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Ganjan88 says it's going to bite her. Yes, I think you are correct. Yes, I think it absolutely is going to bite her. 100%. Yes. DG Daniel says her campaign was looking for every possible way to avoid doing the show. They know. No. I think they made a mistake, man. Yeah. Mike Voss says, no, she was hoping Trump would look so bad she wouldn't eat. Yes, that's correct. You're right. She was hoping that he wouldn't do it or he screwed it up somehow. But I don't see how Trump messes that up. It's a bro show, right? I don't see Trump. I mean, if her people, and look, it's possible, again, for those of you who've been on campaigns, sometimes people stay in the bubble so much that they can't see outside. So is it possible some people thought, oh, Trump will be an evil Trump guy and say terrible things? Possibly. But if any of them were like, no, you got to look outside your world and see how Trump does this stuff. Trump doesn't really mess this up hardly ever. This is something that the odds of Trump messing that up were slim. Could he have made some faux pas? Sure, he's human. But messing it up? I don't know. Jennifer says, no one knows who's winning this thing. It might be close, not at all. A lot of people I know are 100% sure. I think you're right, though. I think they're wrong. Not they're wrong. I think it's silly to be so sure. I don't think I'm with you, Jennifer. That's my view. I think the same thing. So, yes. Duke Effects says, I just finished watching the Rogan interview with JD Vance. Harris may have lost her presidency due to this mistake. I'm not prepared to go that far. What I would say is, if she loses it, this could have helped. That's what I will say. I'm not sure that there's many reasons why. I mean, she's a bad candidate, right? That's just true. She's a bad candidate. But yeah, I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you on that. I think she should have done this without question. Yes. DJD Daniel says they would have agreed to an hour and bailed for 30 minutes. She can't do an hour unscripted. Well, look, a lot of you guys are being up on a scripted thing. Here, Mike says you can't memorize a 3-hour mostly casual conversation. True. You're not wrong. But if you know it's 3 hours, right, you can have her have enough memorized stories, enough memorized one-liners, zingers. You can do that so that overall it's a good interview. Do I think that she would have knocked it out of the park? No. If she would have, it would have been amazing. Like, everybody would have been blown away if she had. I mean, that would have been so out of character that people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So to your point, Mike, I don't think she could have had like a great interview the whole way through. I think you're right. That's impossible. But she wouldn't have to, right? First off, listen to everything you're saying. Everybody would have thought that she would be terrible. So the bar would have been insanely low. They've been like, okay, just don't cackle all the way through and talk about middle class, and you kind of did okay. That would have been it. That would have been the bar. So the bar she has to get over is a low bar. And just have a couple of cool stories, a couple of one-liners, Orange Man Bad one-liners that Democrats love. Have a couple of those for you Democrat red meat. Have some of that. And then have a couple cool stories that you memorized and a couple answers to obvious questions that you memorize, right? Some of those. And overall, you have a decent one. And boom, you got 41 million people looking at you now. Because 41 million people would have watched that too. She had the same amount of views, if not more, of course. I'm not saying you're wrong, Mike. I'm saying she didn't have to. You were thinking that she would have had to do a 3-hour conversation. Nope. And then whatever zingers or good things she has, her people cut those up and put them over social media. And then if you didn't watch the interview, you go, oh, she killed it on Rogan. She's great. And you get motivation and more people show up. So yes. Andrea, thank you for being a member. I hate when politicians just say the same talking points. Show us that you can think on your feet. It's one of the reasons why I do everything live, Andrea, for that exact reason. I agree with you completely. I wish they would. The sad part is she's not good at that, right? To Phil's point, she needs an ADA to feed her lines. Yes. Yes. Right? If you notice, I'm not taking a stance on whether she should or should not. I'm taking a stance on what you should do to win. And she is not. You're right, Phil. Now, again, if I'm on her team and I recognize that you're correct, I go, Phil, let's get her ADA. Let's get her somebody to feed the lines. Let's do it. Fine. That's the candidate that I got. Let's act accordingly. Phil, you the ADA today. Let's go. Let's do this. Set the lines. Let's make it happen. That's your right. So then why aren't you acting accordingly? My issue is, I think, Phil, this is my opinion. I don't know this. I think Harris doesn't want to accept that. I think Harris thinks because she did so well after that, because if you know, she changed after that debate. She thinks, oh, I'm great. I'm awesome. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to hear it. I bet a bunch of her team either got fired or they just gave up and like, I'm just getting my paycheck in November and I'm done. That's it. I'm going to go see what the Trump people are doing afterwards. Right? That's what's going to happen. I think that's what's happening because you are correct. Right? I think that's it. So, any case, I do want to, if I can, I do appreciate. Let me quickly grab a couple of super chats. Peace Logic, thank you for the $5. I thought JD Vance did an excellent job on Rogan. I was really impressed. It made me feel even better about the team. I'm going to cover some of that in a couple of seconds with that team. So yes, Rogan and Vance really dug into Harris. See, now she can't defend herself. Thank you for that, Peace Logic. I appreciate it, Peace. Thanks for $2. That's what happened. So now she can't defend herself. So a lot of people clearly watch his show, right? Literally tens of millions. Who knows how many were American and it can vote? At least 10 million were Americans who can vote, at least, if not 20 million, right? Obviously, a whole lot of people who can vote and are Americans watch that show, right? Who knows how many? Maybe 20 million? I don't know. Whatever the number is, right? But a lot. Tens of millions, either way. Those people only got one side of that story piece 2 times. 2 times. They got one side of the story 2 times versus one side of the story from him, one side of the story from her. That's a loss. Another guy said so. That's a loss. I know some of you thought I was nuts. She shouldn't go. She should have gone. There's nothing she has done in these last 2 days, 3 days, whatever. Nothing she's done in these last 3 days that would have been more important than doing Joe Rogan. Nothing. Nothing's had more impact. Nothing's nothing. Nothing has been as more impactful as that would have been for her to go on Joe Rogan. As I said before, and that even he said so. It's absolutely true. Should have gone. It was an error, no doubt. All right. I now want to go to something else of the piece, if I could. And that is, as it looks as though, as I mentioned, like Harris is shunning the broosphere, right? Is shunning that world. It looks as if she is doing so. A lot of men are feeling it, and you see it everywhere. Men are feeling like they don't care, or they're not, talking to men well at all. What about the opposite side? What about Trump seeing like he's dissing women? He's not talking to women, or that's the Harris side for sure. But what about that? How's that working? Well, Nikki Haley had something to say. A lot of you reached out to me and you said things like, "Well, Larry, why isn't he, using Nikki Haley? Why aren't they helping out? Why isn't Nikki Haley?" And I told you something some of you didn't believe. Politics is petty. It's petty. A lot of people think, well, no, it's about the big pictures and this and, Russia and Iran. It's often about, I don't like you. That's it. And I told you that there's a lot of people I'm sure on the Trump campaign right now. Generally speaking, if you start working in a campaign, and some of you I know have done campaign work, some of you haven't, you become very loyal to your candidate. Very loyal, particularly if they're doing well and you're feeling success. You become very loyal to your candidate. And when people attack the candidate, as Haley did for a long time, the people in that campaign are like, to hell with her. Jennifer says it right up. I don't like Haley at all. Yes. So now, Jennifer, you don't like Haley at all. And in comes some Haley people saying, hey, we want to bring in some Haley people so that Haley could be at this event. You can be like, I don't want her around here. I don't want her around here. I don't want her here. Yeah, well, they're not going to want to return calls. It's that simple. And I mentioned that to you before. And here, they actually bring up some of those things on how things actually work. It's Nikki Haley talking about the Trump campaign and how he used or didn't use her.
Former presidential candidate Nikki Haley joined Fox News' Bret Baier, where she said that Trump's campaign needed to end the bromance strategy they've got going on. Let's watch.
The Associated Press says, as Democrats court Haley supporters, the former UN ambassador is still waiting to hear from Trump.
Yeah, waiting to hear from Trump. Yes. For those of you who heard me say this before, I talk about this in the Libertarian Party all the time. People ask me, hey, Larry, should I run for this office, that office? One of the things I ask a series of questions before I give them my opinion. One of the questions I ask is, can you take a knife in the back from people who are supposed to be your friends and on your side? And then when they put that knife in your back, can you pull it out and go, think this is your property? And give it back to them. Can you do that? And they laugh. I go, don't laugh. You will get backstabbed. In a small party like the Libertarians, Green Party, same thing. You will get backstabbed by people who say, you're not Libertarian enough, you're not Green enough. I get the people who dump on me the most are Libertarians. Not even close. The most are Libertarians. Because I'm never Libertarian enough, or I don't virtue signal enough for them, or I'm on the wrong side of this issue or that issue. They dump on me the most. They dump on me all the time. And when that happens, people start getting upset because you backstab me. I tend to be very forgiving in that regard. I tend to be forgiving. So yes, but some of you aren't and others aren't too. Christine says Nikki Haley talked a lot of smack about Trump. There was no coming back from that. Yes, I think Christine, by the way, thank you for being a member, 100%. Yes, it's exactly true. Hard to come back from the stuff she said about Trump. Hard to come back from that, right? Very hard. And she would have to humble herself to do so. She doesn't want to. She actually doesn't want to bend the knee to Trump. A lot of people will. She does not want to at all. Yes. The Liberty Lady, thank you for being a member, says examples are going on in real time too with the backstabbing the LP. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Happens all the time. Mike Voss, Haley embarrassed herself during the primaries and after establishment right dropped her like a pet rock. Yes. Also true. Also true. Andrea says, I feel like Nikki Haley's become a neocon. Become? Kind of has been for a long time. Agreed. She's neocon. I think you're right. If Trump wins this election by a lot, I don't think he will. I still don't. I know Voss is mad at me. He thinks Trump's going to be like by 5,000 points, whatever. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. She'll just become a Democrat. She'll just leave, become a Democrat. Because Democrats will become the neocon party if that happens. So, yeah, she has been for a long time. So, Kinsuke, how are you? This whole election proved to me it's all pettiness, Shake Smith. Yes, absolutely. Alpha Rumble, Americua says, nice analysis. Piety voters are the most common backstabbers. Very true. Piety voters are people who are worried about just supporting the team regardless, or those who are worried about basically virtue signaling. They are absolutely the worst. You are correct. Thank you for that.
When was the last time you talked to the former president?
Last time I talked to him was back in June.
June, 4 months ago. 4 months ago. Trump hasn't talked to her in 4 months.
So are you surprised that you
He doesn't know how to act. He's like, he was hoping you were going to say last week. Nope.
haven't been deployed out to campaign, or have you volunteered to go out and campaign for him directly?
I mean, they're very aware that we're on standby. They know that we would be there to help. I've helped with some fundraising letters and text messages and those types of things. So we've done that. But look, we're on the same team. It is their campaign's decision on what he needs.
His campaign's decision. This is what I was telling you about. They don't like her or her people. They feel like she was terrible. They don't want to forgive. They don't think they need her enough, so they have dissed her. And the problem she has right now is, again, if Trump loses this election, right, if he loses on Tuesday, She's ready to go. She's a star. She's good. She only has to act like she cares about Trump. Because if he loses, she'll be like, see, I told you, I'm the savior. Neocons come back into the party. Remember, I told you this. If Trump loses, the party will crack. People like Nikki Haley, neocon, as you said, will be like, I lead the neocon section. Come on in. We'll take over the party. Now, will they? I don't know. But I guarantee you she will try. That I guarantee you. I'll bet anybody any amount of money. If Trump loses, she will try. I don't know if she'll be successful, but she will absolutely try to take over the party. She's the leader. She told you the whole time. It was always about her. Blah, blah. That's what will happen if Trump loses. If Trump wins, she could be homeless. So she has to be good enough to where she's not homeless. She will have to bend the knee to Trump to get something as a Republican, or her career is over. Or she goes off and starts writing books or something. I don't know, whatever that is. Or she becomes Democrat. One of those two. So yes, so she is concerned.
And these last final days, it does not bother me at all. I think they need to do what they need to do to get across the finish line. I just think that they need to focus primarily on who it is they're talking to. You've got Americans who are absolutely going to vote for Trump. You've got Americans who are absolutely not going to vote for Trump. And then you've got a percentage in the middle who like Trump policies but don't like his style. That is what they need to focus on. So when you
She's not wrong on those things, but I'm not sure that matters anymore. I think that was probably really true about a month or two ago. I think now it's much more who's going to show up because people are already voting, right? People are already voting. So yeah, Christine says she'll do what Liz Cheney did. That's yes, Christine, you're correct. Yes, thank you for that. She's also a neocon. They're both neocons. Yes, that's what she'll do. Andrea says, do you think she's doing this for if Trump loses? 100%. I just mentioned that. Yes, you read my mind, Andrea. That's why she's doing it. She is hoping in her. Now, she has to care enough to act like, I care. I'm a Republican. I care. She's doing that, which is nice. You should do that. If I was advising her, I'd be telling the same thing, right? Act like you care. If he loses, party's yours. If he wins, decide if you want to bend the knee or not. Make a decision then, or if you want to go you want to try to rebuild a neocon Democratic Party, whichever you think is going to work best. Either way, people know you. I mean, she's still popular enough that she could either, if Trump loses, try to take over the Republican Party, or if Trump wins, she could either bend the knee and do something for him, right? Become ambassador to something or whatever. She could do that. And I'm sure she'd be a fine ambassador someplace, whatever. She has enough experience, that kind of stuff. She can. Or she goes to the Democratic Party and goes, hey, are we all neocons now? Right? Me and Cheney and you guys, we're all neocons now, right? It could be that. So I think either way, yes.
You look at these things, it has got to be a story of addition. This is not a time to have anyone criticize Puerto Rico or Latinos. This is not a time for them to get overly masculine with this bromance thing that they've.
Now, why is she saying these things? Because this is what she's going to say. If Trump loses this, she will say, see, this is why I wouldn't have done that. Exactly right, Andrea. This is what she would, I guarantee, I'll bet anybody money. If Trump loses, she will say, see, I was right. It's this dumb bromance thing that I wouldn't have done. And then it's how he's saying X, Y, Z. I wouldn't have done that. This is what she's saying.
Got going. 53% of the electorate are women. Right. Women will vote. They care about how they're being talked to.
And Haley's advice didn't end there. Take a look.
Yep, she had more to say.
They need to go and tell Puerto Ricans how much, they do value them. They need to tell Latinos that, but they also need to look at how they're talking about women. I mean, this bromance and this masculinity stuff, I mean, it borders on edgy to the point that it's going to make women uncomfortable. You've got affiliated PACs that are doing commercials about calling Kamala the C word, or you had speakers at Madison Square Gardens, referring to her and her pimps. That is not the way to win women. That is not.
She has a valid point, but I don't know if that's important now, if that makes any sense, right? I think if you go back a month, maybe, I think it's a valid point. You probably won't be doing that stuff. You shouldn't be doing it now anyway, but I don't know if it matters in a very practical way, right? I think the women who already don't like how Trump speaks enough to where it affects their vote, right? Whatever group of women are out there who are like, I just don't hate it. I just hate him. He's a misogynist. I'm not going to vote for him. I feel like those women are already like, I'm done. Like, he could change his language. They would still not vote for him. I feel like they've made that decision already. The question is, are they going to show up or not? Right? That's the issue. Now, here's where it could be backfiring. Were there women who were mad at him and just said, I don't care, I'm not going to show up? And will it motivate some of those women to show up? I don't know. I could get maybe, right? But I think the fear part motivates them more, right? But if your biggest issue is women's right to choose, and for a lot of women that's true, if that's your number one issue, Harris is doing a great job bringing you aboard, right? That's all she talks about. So if that's your number one issue, you're out. You're going to vote for Harris. Done deal. Doesn't matter what Trump does. So I'm not sure how this affects it now. This may have been true years ago, right? It may have been true years ago. I'm not sure that's true now. Jennifer says Tulsi's around. Yes, but I'll bring this up again. This was very difficult for the Trump team to master. If you remember what I was talking about, I'm doing a lot of told you so stuff, I guess, but I'm trying to show you how this was working, right? I told you that the issue was turning that whole ship around was very hard for the Trump team. They had 3 or 4 things that hit them all at the same time, and then trying to merge that together and put in the same out, really tough, right? First, it's not Biden as Harris all of a sudden. Tough for the team to change their entire strategy, change their team, change their messaging. Difficult. Not impossible. They've done it, but it took time. Add on top of that RFK Jr., add on top of that Tulsi Gabbard, add on top of that Elon Musk, mix it all together, and each of them has their own stuff going on. So it was kind of, for a while, if you remember, it was kind of an RFK Tulsi campaign and a Trump campaign separate. Then they had to merge them. That took time to make that happen, to get it all together, right? That took time. Did Tulsi get on board with that ship in time to save women? I don't know. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying, Jennifer. Yes, she's around, but it would have been easier if she was around with him combined a month or 2 ago earlier. That would have been stronger. I don't know if it was enough. That's my issue. I don't know. So, yes. Andrew says, could be a possible Haley versus Vivek match if none of Trump's run. Yes, that's a perfect example of what I was talking about, right? You could see the battle shape up in the idea of the, America first, in quotes, whatever that would mean after, if Trump loses, whatever that would mean. And someone like a Vivek charging that, yes. And then the old school neocon George W. Bush side with Haley leading that. That's totally possible. I mean, it may seem too obvious, probably someone else, but possible. But that battle will take place, though. Again, if Trump loses, that battle will begin next year. And how it will begin with is both Haley and Vivek, or whoever leads them, trying to get local people elected based upon these two ideas. And the victories at the local level will then move over into 2026. And now we'll see how many of them can get into Congress, how many can get into the Senate, right? So that's how you'll see the battle start fighting. 2025 will be local. Both of these sides trying to gather the local people to jump on board. There'll be a bunch of primary races in 2025 to see which side wins locally. Then you'll see it happen again in 2026. That'll be Senate, Congress, some governorships to see which side of those are winning, which will set it all for 2028. So by the time 2028 comes, it should be pretty obvious which side's winning. And then each side will decide, who's going to be the standard bearer, right, for each side. And it could be Haley and Vivek, possible. And then that will be the final battle. And whoever wins that nomination is going to control the party for at least the next 4 years, if not longer. So, yeah, I think that's how that will work. So.
Not the way to win people who are concerned about Trump style. This is a time to talk about the economy. This is the time to talk about immigration. This is the time to talk about national security. And this is the time to talk about Kamala Harris.
Well, Amber, you're the conservative woman in attendance here. Does she have a point? Is it off-putting perhaps to people who are undecided, female voters in the suburbs, to have this quote-unquote bromance strategy happen?
I mean, maybe. I obviously don't really speak for them. And I think one interesting part of this gender gap is that I've always said it's less of a gender gap and more of a lifestyle gap, where you see married women tend to be more Republican, unmarried women tend to be more liberal. And maybe there are some suburban married women who are undecided that these comments, they don't love those. Trump is obviously cognizant of this. He did the town hall for women with Harris Faulkner at Fox News fairly recently. But I think on the flip side, the Kamala Harris campaign is also concerned about their message with men, right? We've seen.
Well, that's true, but I want to talk about that piece. But she has a point. I get her point, but that isn't what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up the idea that, are they going to start changing how they speak to women, and will it matter? I'm unsure, right? I'm unsure. Andrew asked a question, why couldn't it be an election of girl bosses? Kamala versus Nikki versus Tulsi. Well, in theory, I mean, unless is Tulsi going to run independent? She's a Republican now, so I don't think she'll run independent. Tulsi would have to run against Nikki, which I think she could. But the problem, and just to be clear, Republicans don't fully trust Tulsi yet. Many people like Tulsi, but she was Democrat 5 minutes ago. So a lot of them don't trust her. You would only get behind a Tulsi if you want to roll the dice. And here's my example. Let's say that in the coming years, assuming again that Trump loses, if Trump loses and the Nikki neocon side of the party start winning, they start winning and they win a bunch of local elections, they win a bunch of seats in the House and in the Senate, and it looks like they're winning. Then you gamble with Tulsi. Of course, then you gamble with it because now your side's getting its butt kicked. You roll dice on Tulsi. You try to get a rebel in there to kind of reboot the spark of the rebel from Trump. Then you try something like, or RFK Jr., you try something like that, maybe, right? But again, same with RFK Jr., he's not a Republican. So it's difficult for the Republicans to pick these people unless they're rolling the dice. If it looks like America First is going to win this civil war, I don't see an RFK Jr. or a Tulsi being the Republican nominee in 2028. If it looks like they're losing the war and the neocons are winning and they want to roll a dice on someone, yes, then it could happen. And then it's a die roll. Okay, yeah, we're losing this thing. The neocons are winning. We don't want them to take our party over. Let's give a shot with Tulsi or RFK or something like that. Otherwise, I don't see it, right? They kind of have to be in the party for a while for them to just do that. Or, I mean, unless they just have their own contingent that grows so deep within the party. Is it possible that RFK like grows a massive medical freedom group within the party? Maybe. I mean, it could happen, but generally speaking, those groups don't grow that large. Think of the Tea Party, didn't grow that large, didn't become majority. Think of Liberty Caucus, did not become majority. It'd be challenging. I hope I answered your question. So, yeah. All right, and grab a little bit more of this.
Them trying to make distinct appeals to men in the past few weeks. And the question is, when you look at this polling from Quinnipiac University, you have Kamala Harris with an average of a 17 to 20 point gap with women in swing states. And then you have Trump with an average 20 to 25 point gap with male voters. So we know that female voters tend to be more reliable voters. They tend to have greater enthusiasm for going to the polls. So the ultimate question is, does Trump's slight edge with men over Kamala's edge with women give him enough of an advantage that the higher turnout for female voters isn't going to matter as much?
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that the sheer scale of that schism you pointed out in the Quinnipiac polling is very, very striking. We are accustomed to female voters preferring Democrats and male voters preferring Republicans. But the issue of there being like a 20-point deficits either side is very unusual. Now, some of that may well be policy, some of that may be cultural. But I do wonder the way Trump tends to speak about women, calling Kamala Harris a low IQ individual, the fact of the Madison Square Garden rally having so much sort of what would even be the word, kind of crude machismo to it on some parts. I do suspect that has to be off-putting to some women. Yes, of course, there's the abortion issue that plays into this in a big way. Of course, there are other issues with men feeling perhaps a sense of grievance, rightly or wrongly, about society, a society that they perceive to be less welcoming of them or less hospitable to them. But I mean, it seems to me that Trump's tone has to be a part of this picture, no?
And maybe they're banking on the fact that women who have a problem with his tone and his rhetoric are probably already not going to vote for him. Even if they say that they're undecided. Maybe that's part of the political calculation. I don't know. Again,
I do think that's part of the calculation. I do. I think they're saying it's too late. Whatever women hate us, already hate us. We're just going to go for the men to the best of our ability. We're looking for turnout. That's what I think the campaign, the Trump campaign's doing. I think the Harris campaign is doing something similar. I think they're trying to focus on women, getting women out to vote. Everywhere I've heard what Harris has better than Trump. This is what Harris has better than Trump across the country. There may be areas that's different, but across the country, Harris has a better ground game. That's true. And again, your area may be different. I'm talking overall. More supporters, more money, more door knockers, more people on the ground. She does have more of them. That's true. She has more resources than Trump does. That's accurate. Now, is that going to equal more getting out of the vote? I'm not sure, because just because you have a lot of bodies doesn't mean people are going to do what you say, right? But I do think that she has more of those things and has an advantage over Trump in that regard. If she puts her people in the right spot, some of you may know she's been walking away from North Carolina. Why? Because she thinks she's going to lose it. And the reality of it is, whoever wins Pennsylvania wins this thing. That's it. If I'm Harris, I'm throwing all my stuff in like 3 states. I'm throwing everything I have into Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And the rest, whatevs. Whatevs for the rest. Because if she wins those 3, she wins. If she does. If Harris wins those 3 states, if she wins Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, she wins the election. So, look, you got to look at where you're going to put your resources, right? I'm a Marine. I know where to put the forces. I'm deploying every talented person I have, every dollar I can into 3 states. 3 states. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Nothing else. If I am the Green Party, I'm throwing everything I have into Michigan. Everything, every person, every dollar, everything into Michigan. Everything. Me and my VP are moving to Michigan, and we're living in Michigan for the next 4 days. We're not even leaving. Get hotels. We're not leaving. That's what I'm doing if I'm the Green Party. No doubt. If I'm Trump, I'm focusing hard, which he is, on Pennsylvania. He's got to win Pennsylvania. If he loses Pennsylvania, he loses the election. And he's probably going to win. He's probably going to win Georgia. He's probably going to win North Carolina. He's probably going to win Arizona. You have teams there working. Let them keep working. Let them do their job. Throw every dollar you have into Pennsylvania. That's it. I wouldn't try to get Michigan and Wisconsin if I was him. I'd be supporting this. This is what I'd be doing. Again, I'm telling you what I'd be doing. I'd be supporting Stein in Michigan if I was Trump. I literally said, if I got some extra cash I was going to put in Michigan, give it to Stein. I'm not even joking. That's not what you need. How much you need? Oh, that, boom. If I'm Trump, again, people don't do what I say. If I'm Trump, I get Stein on Rogan. Yes. I don't put Vance on Logan. I put Stein on Rogan. You put Jill Stein on Rogan, she'll take Michigan. Think about that. You put Jill Stein on Rogan, she takes Michigan. If I am the Trump campaign, I'm using my ability to put Jill Stein on Rogan this weekend. That's what I'd be doing. I'm not even. You guys think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I actually know how this shit works. I'll go one step further. What I would have done, the craziest thing, I told you some of you guys before, months ago, I'd have pulled Trump off the ballot in California, and just left RFK Jr. on it. Off of New York, left RFK Jr. on it. Well, he wouldn't be on, so can't do it in New York. But whatever, I would have jumped off some of these states. Why? Imagine if you're in California, RFK Jr. versus Harris. Harris barely won her race against a Republican when she was AG. Barely won it. RFK Jr. would have taken California. She wouldn't get it. She can't win an election. If Harris doesn't win California, she cannot win the election. So you leave RFK Jr. on the ballot. You pull Trump off the ballot in California. So now it's RFK Jr. versus Harris. RFK wins that battle. You win the election. You weren't going to win California anyway. I know you guys think I'm crazy. It would have been the right answer. That was my plan. I spoke about this months ago. That's how the system works. Now, Republicans in California would have jumped out of their skin because the Republican GOP wants to raise money. You're not raising money, but I don't care. I'm the Trump campaign. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. Sorry. Nope. I'm coming off. Go ahead. Yes. And if the California GOP says they're going to put some money on, I say you better put RFK Jr. on that. Otherwise, when I'm president, you guys get nothing. I would have literally just pulled that card out. Wouldn't have thought twice. But that's how you got to think if you want to win a presidential election. But anyway, I'm yapping away as I usually do. Let me grab a couple more of these comments. Kim, I think Vivek would take charge of the party if Trump loses. Haley will jump ship. She might. I think it depends on how. Here's what I don't know. I don't know how much money is behind the neocons in case Trump loses. I don't know. If it's not much money, I think you're right. if there's a ton, she'll stay. She'll stay. She'll stay and she'll try to go over because neocons do love her, right? Neocons love her. And if they think she could take over, they will jump on that in a heartbeat. Absolutely. John, thank you for the $5, my friend. I appreciate every bit. Thank you so much. So I do think they would jump on board. Absolutely. So, yeah. All righty. Jennifer says, I like Tulsi and RFK, though, as a Trump voter in the last 2 elections. I think a lot of people feel that way. I don't think you're against that. Rio Pato, hope I said that right. Rio Pato, 2009. Vance for 2028. Vance is setting himself up well, which is why a lot of people are thinking about, this idea of, well, Tulsi will come in, RFK Jr. will come in, Vivek will come in. You can't count out Vance. And here's the reason why. Vance is no dummy. He's a smart guy. He also isn't lazy. So he's a smart guy who's not lazy. That's dangerous. That means people will get behind him. They'll want him to be the next, the heir apparent, and they'll start boxing out everybody else. They will. They'll start boxing out Vivek. They'll start boxing out RFK Jr. They'll start boxing out Tulsi and making Vance the guy. He'll do things. I'm not sorry, Tulsi, sorry. Harris was lazy. I don't mean to be mean, but she was. She didn't do much, right? She didn't do much. She's like, oh, okay, I'm the VP. Life's good. All right. I don't see Vance doing that. I think Vance will be doing things, right? So he'll be seen as being that type of person, right? I think he'll be doing things. And his people who will want him as the heir apparent will get behind him and encourage him, right? So if I'm on the campaign and I was helping Trump, I'm not. They listen to me sometimes, which is nice. I'm glad listening. But anyway, I'm not. But if Vance goes, hey, Larry, I want you on my team. Or if I'm on the Trump team and I go, well, Trump's done in 4 years. Where's my bread going to be buttered in 4 years? Vance. Okay. I'm going to be all behind Vance. How do I get him set up here? How do I get him to do this? Let's get him doing that. Let's get him doing this. Let's get him set up. Yeah, I want to be on his team when he wins 2028. I'm going to be going out of my way to get him set up. Out of my way. And someone like him will get it. So yes. Rick, thank you for being a member, my friend. RFK is a Republican as Trump. Republicans an identity that's in flux. Kind of, but you got to remember, there's a lot of people. Think about any party. Think about how tough it was for Cornel West to join the Green Party. They didn't see him as one of them. Think about how tough it was for RFK to join the Libertarian Party. We didn't see him as one of us. So Trump at least has been a Republican, right, for many years at least, and has been a Republican president. So RFK Jr. can't say that. He will have to really be accepted as a Republican to make that happen. And that could be challenging, is all I'm saying. Yes. Kinsley says, do you think RFK Jr. would have done better with his campaign if Tulsi was his VP? I don't think so. And the reason is the hardest part that RFK Jr. dealt with was the system that was against him. And the system was also against her too. The only way he could have done better is if he had a VP who was somehow accepted by the system. I don't know how you do that, because once you're independent, they hate you. So I don't think so. Because again, okay, he would have Tulsi, great, but now he just has more stuff that he still isn't making things happen. It still isn't working. So he's still not getting in the debates. He's still not getting in the polling. So it hasn't changed. So I don't think so. But speaking about that, I want to go to the next piece if I could. This is them dealing with the RFK Jr. campaign. Before I go there, guys, real fast, as I always ask you, please click the like button. If you haven't shared this, please share it. It does matter. I know you think I'm joking. It does really matter tremendously. Please share it. If you haven't subscribed or follow, please do that. It's free. Please do so. If you want your chat to go to the front, please super chat me on YouTube. You can super chat me on either Larry Sharpe or Sharpe. What does it matter? Those on YouTube. Become a member. Please become a member. That join button, $5 per month. I'm a YouTube member, right? I will be doing membership only content coming up here soon. And I always try to get my members' comments first whenever I can. As they zip by, I try to do that. But no matter what, click the button known as like. All right. Let me grab this next piece. This one is from Counterpoints, right? Which is the breaking points, but with the second team, I guess. Is what it is, the second team.
I did this kind of Hail Mary attempt to the Supreme Court to try to get off the ballots in Michigan and Wisconsin. And because of the timing of him dropping out and endorsing former President Trump, That meant that in some states, he can't get his name off the ballot. You have to be pretty clueless at this point to not know that RFK has dropped out.
Now, that part is true. But I said in the past that I think he could easily get 1 million votes. Easily could get 1 million votes. He could still get 1 million votes. It could easily happen. And will that matter? Generally speaking, in Michigan and Wisconsin, I don't think so. Here is why I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter because we already have the data in this. More than 50%, over 50% of voters who were supporting RFK Jr. are already planning and will vote for Trump. We know this already, over 50%. So for every 100, at least 55, if not 60, are going to vote for Trump. We know this. So the remaining piece, who they're going to vote for. Some of them have checked out. That's it. If I can't get RFK, I get nobody. Some checked out, whatever that percentage is, say 5%, whatever that number is, right? Another chunk are going to go, all right, I don't care. I love Bobby. I'm voting Trump anyway. And they won't vote Trump anyway. For whatever's left over, the more options they have is good, right? For Trump. The more options they have that aren't Harris is good. So they might go, to hell with it, Jill Stein. I know people who supported RFK Jr. who are voting Jill Stein. To hell with, if I can't get that, I'll take her instead, right? That's happening too. People vote Chase Oliver. I can't get that, I'll vote Chase Oliver, right? Of course. So I don't think it's the end of the world in these swing states. I think this is very doable. The majority of the people who were supporting RFK Jr., the majority of them are voting Trump anyway. So Trump gets the majority. If the minority of that vote is broken up, advantage still Trump. Does that make sense? Like the advantage is still Trump's either way. So I don't think it's going to hurt. Could it help less? Maybe, but I don't think it's going to hurt.
So how much do you think that this could affect Michigan and Wisconsin? Because I can see it a couple of different ways, and I'm curious what the campaign thinks if you've heard from them on this. On the one hand, I think RFK Jr. will get a decent number of votes, like in the thousands, maybe even the tens of thousands in these states. But then the question is, what would those people have done if his name was not on the ballot?
Yes.
They might have just written in weed, or they might have voted
Ryan Graham.
They might have voted Ryan Graham. They might have voted for another third party, or just left it blank.
Mm-hmm.
So people kind of automatically think, oh, well, he endorsed Trump, and they have voted for RFK Jr. on their ballots. That means if he wasn't there, they would have automatically voted for Trump. And I think that's a leap that you can't make. But I'm curious.
I agree. I think he's right. You can't just make that leap. I think the data is, and we've done polling on this already, and we do know, again, over half of the people who were voting for RFK Jr. are voting for Trump. Over half. We know this already. That's going to happen. So the rest of the candidates split the rest, whatever that is. Will some go to Harris? Sure. Some percentage will, but it won't be more than Trump, right? Whatever that percentage is, say it's 25%. I'm making that number up, right? It's not 55%. Either way, Trump will get more out of this either way.
How obviously they care because they went to the Supreme Court. So how big of a handicap is this for Trump in Michigan and Wisconsin?
I mean, I think it's an open question, right? As you said, they clearly care because they tried to get his name removed.
They did.
But I remember months ago when Kennedy first got into the race, there was real debate over who he would hurt more. Donald Trump's campaign at one point had internal data that he would hurt them more. And so I think that's important. And now
think about that. Donald Trump's team had data internally that said he would hurt them more. So the Democrats knew that RFK Jr. would hurt Trump more. And they still put $1 billion aside to destroy him. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Why would you take $1 billion out to destroy someone who's going to hurt Trump more? Why? Because he is a traitor and he must be destroyed. That's why. Because you can't have Democrats leaving and becoming independents. You cannot. Because then others will. Others will. He must be an example to the masses. We must destroy him. I wish I was joking. I'm not. You just heard it. She checked it out. She was with both campaigns. She knows. This is a reporter who's covered everything. I knew this too. I told you all this back in the day. He takes more from Trump than he takes from Harris. But the Republicans didn't fight him. They let him alone. Who fought him? Democrats. Why? It makes no sense. He's taking more from Trump. It's good that he's running, right? No, he's a traitor. He is part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Yes, he's a traitor. He must be destroyed. So he must be an example for all the rest. If you leave, you go nowhere. We are the empire, and that's all there is. And that's really how they think. Rick says, I'm glad RFK chose Shanahan. She is someone to watch out for in the coming years thanks to this campaign. Agreed. I think she is an up-and-coming. You're 100% correct. She is brilliant. She's smart. She's savvy. Yes, 100%. Yes. And she's a libertarian streak. And I love any candidate that has a libertarian streak.
People heard from Kennedy more. I think, some of these, he garnered more Republicans than Democrats. But I think there are a small number of people who might vote for Donald Trump or might stay home who were backing Kennedy. And so any vote, I think, any number in this presidential election, when it's so close, if the public polling is to be believed, can influence it. And so I do think that Donald Trump's campaign is somewhat concerned about it. It doesn't help them. And I do expect that, we'll probably see Kennedy out urging those voters in those states to vote for Donald Trump in the next few days.
Yeah, and in politics, I think the biggest bias that you have, especially in media, is just working in media, and you are so disconnected from the mind of the average voter who has a million different things going on, may genuinely start tuning into the election. I mean, we've been covering this every single day for over a year, but may genuinely start tuning into the election the day before they vote and looking, like Google Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, immigration numbers, healthcare, all of those things, inflation, and are like looking at the charts and whatever. But there are also people who go in there, aren't happy with the candidates, are voting for, maybe they're going to vote for Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin, and they see Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s names on the ballot, and they like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and they don't like Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was campaigning pretty hard against Donald Trump just about a year and a half ago. That stuff does.
She's right. I mean, that's not a million people, right? But again, this is going to be a tight election. Could be 10,000 people. Could be. If that's in the right neighborhood, if that's in the right state, it could matter. It could matter. It's possible. But I don't think it's a huge issue. I don't think it's a huge issue. I just don't. Kim says, I don't know what RFK has put on Trump's behavior, but Trump is almost likable in my eyes now. Wow, that's a change. Okay. The trash truck was an RFK move. Trash truck was genius. He's not wrong. That was a good move. He's doing some good stuff. He's got, this is my point. He's got the momentum. Where is Harris's momentum? Where's her thing? Where is it? It's nowhere. Jennifer says, Sabby Sabs. I like Sabby. Thinks Trump wins most swing states, but that's from poll data. I think he will win most. I think there's 7 swing states. I agree. I think he wins 4. I think he wins Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and probably, I think, also Nevada. I think he wins those 4. I still think Harris wins Michigan and Wisconsin. That's why I think whoever wins Pennsylvania wins. That's it. I think Pennsylvania takes it. I think whoever wins Pennsylvania wins. I do not think it'll be a landslide. I don't think so. I think it'll be very close, meaning like 280, 290, like that. That's what I don't think either side breaks 300. I don't think either side breaks 290. I don't think either side breaks 290. That's my gut. Neither side breaks 290. So yeah, but I get where she's going from. I don't think so. I don't think Trump wins Wisconsin or Michigan. I don't think so. But I could be wrong. That's where my head is. So yes, Michael's on the same reason why Harris was North Carolina is why she was Georgia. I agree. I think you're right. I agree. No argument for me.
Happen. Yeah. People really aren't happy with these 2 candidates. That's what he was originally campaigning on, in fact. So that stuff can make a big difference when we look to 2016 when the margin in Michigan. Do you remember exactly how many votes it was? It was such a tiny.
Michigan, 100,000-ish.
So small. So obviously it can make a significant difference. Now, Shelby, another thing I'm curious about. Let's first roll this next thought. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about what he's.
Before we go there, Sarah says, for those of us who voted already, we need a new project. How can we support Larry going forward? Well, if Larry runs for mayor of New York City, we'll know next year. We can decide that then. Absolutely. Kintugi says, Stein on Rogan. Interesting. It is exactly the right answer. Exactly the right answer. Stein wants to go on Rogan? Of course she does. Andrea says, you are playing a little game. Yes. Icy says, Stein did well on Charlemagne. Yes. 100%. Yes. Sarah says, I don't know because a lot of RFK supporters defected to Stein and West. Yes, but they were going to go that route. They weren't going to go to Trump. That's my point. If they all go to Stein in Michigan, then imagine if Stein does so well in Michigan that she gets 35% of the vote. 35% of the vote in a three-way race is a win. She could actually win Michigan. Now, what if she doesn't win? She gets 25% of the vote. Be amazing for the Green Party, right? But most of those votes would come from Harris, which means Trump wins. Either way, if Stein does well, either Trump takes Michigan or Stein takes Michigan. Either way, Harris does not get Michigan. If Harris doesn't get Michigan, I cannot see a pathway to her victory. And that's the point. You want to block your enemy to where you can't get a victory. That's how you block the enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So if I'm Trump, I am literally on the phone with Rogan saying, look, I gave you Trump, I gave you Vance, you got to give me Stein. Put Stein on. Put her on this Saturday. Put her on this Sunday. Do it. Put her on. Got to do it. And the Stein team should be like, yeah, right? Get on. People will vote for Stein. She'll do great. Green Party might make 5%. Green Party could become get 5% and be ready for the next election season, or maybe not. Maybe just win Michigan. I don't care. Whatever. It's a brilliant move. That's what they should have done. But as usual, they don't listen to what I tell them, even though I am correct. So yes. All righty. Kim says, Larry, that's what I like about you. Why weren't you advising RFK? They didn't want me on the team. That's the reason. They didn't. Most of the people didn't see the value. The problem with most of these teams is they want seasoned Republicans or Democrats, which seems to make sense if you're a former Democrat or Republican. The sad part is Republicans, Democrats, they're slaves to the actual system. I'm not, right? To be forward, I'm not trying to be, when it comes to independent consultants, there's maybe 6 people in the country that can do what I do. Maybe 6. I'm not even joking. Maybe 6, maybe even less, but maybe 6 can do what I do. When it comes to Democratic or Republican consultants, thousands, tens of thousands of them. They're everywhere. Dime a dozen. Buy them on a freaking street. Independent, very few of us. Very few of us who know how this stuff actually works in an independent level, who know how to move it forward, how to make the talk, help the people out. Very few who know how to do it. And because of that, people don't know who we are. So it's tough for us to get work in that regard. That makes any sense. So yes, if I had been running the RFK Jr., he'd have made 5% and he would have won at least one state. We had a contingent election. We would have had a contingent election coming up here. We would have had it. I was talking contingent election in October of last year. So a year ago, I was talking contingent election. If I was running that campaign, we would have run for a contingent election. We would have had a contingent election, and he would have had a shot at the presidency in January. That's what I would have done. But that's no longer a thing. So yes. Rio Pato says no one even knows Stein's running. If she did Rogan, they would. Right? That's my point. If she did Rogan, they would know. Right? So, yeah.
It's been promised in a Trump administration.
The key that I think that President Trump has promised me is control of the public health agencies, which are HHS and its sub-agencies, CDC, FDA, NIH, and a few others, and then also the USDA, which is key to making America healthy, because we've got to get off of seed oils.
Shelby, this is something I actually asked.
Okay, a couple of things here. Number one, the reason why he can't say a specific name, because that'd be against the law. You can't do quid pro quo. And the second reason why you can't say anything is because it depends on who wins the Senate. If the Republicans dominate and win the Senate, if they do, then he can easily get confirmed, right? To be some secretary of something. If Democrats hold the Senate, he ain't getting confirmed. He is not getting confirmed. So Mad Nomad says, seriously, Larry, you get behind Vance versus RFK Jr. in 2020? I didn't say that. I said if I was a consultant for him. That's what I said. Dude, wake up. What's wrong with you? Yes. No, I'm talking in the idea of how the people in the system work, how they think. And the point is, what you would do if you were in that system is you would use Vance to box out others, right? Because he's the VP. So if I wanted to move my career forward, if I'm a permanent Washington guy and I want to move my career forward and make sure that I'm not just whatever deputy chief of staff of Vance or whatever title I hold, and make sure I move forward and become secretary of X or Y or chief of staff of the White House, whatever. I get behind Vance as the VP, make him look good, do great things, so that when he becomes the big thing, I move along with him. That's what I was saying. So would you just pop on all of a sudden? Yes, that's what I was talking about. So yes. Rick goes on to say, in today's Republican Party, Reagan's a rhino. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yes. So Shelley says, I'm actually surprised by the whole election team method and wonder why Harris didn't opt for this. It seems effective. I think, right, that they weren't ready. That Harris actually wasn't ready for this. Sadly, she should have been. I feel like, and this is my feeling, this I don't know, but people have told me this too, that Harris doesn't have a lot of charisma, so she doesn't have a lot of loyal people around her. And without that, there aren't people doing what I was saying. If I was a Vance loyal guy, I'd be trying to push my guy forward, right? That's what I'd be doing, right? That's what I'd be pushing my guy forward so that my guy can move forward and be great and do cool things and we can all move together. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be loyal. I'd be on his team, of course. And I think you see the Vance team doing that. I think Harris has had a lot of turnover and a lot of people aren't very loyal to her. So they weren't doing these things. I think that's it. So I think that's why. If that makes any sense. So
Senator Eric Schmidt, who's a very good friend of JD Vance, on Undercurrents recently, what it's been like to marry the RFK Jr. camp to the MAGA camp, bringing Maha and MAGA together.
What's Maha?
Remember, I was talking about this. I was talking about how hard this is moving this around. And she is going to, again, she knows a little bit about the campaign.
And MAGA together.
What's Maha?
Make America healthy again.
Oh, okay.
So how are these two very disparate groups? I mean, when I went to the Rescue the Republic rally to report on it a few weeks ago, I literally saw barefoot hippies and MAGA evangelicals together, like backslapping and having fun. But internally, on the campaign side, how's everybody getting along in both of these like pretty different units?
Remember, I told you how tough it is to move this around. She is going to validate what I said right now.
Versus coming together.
I know that there are people on Donald Trump's campaign who are huge fans of Kennedy, and to the point where I've heard, he just talked about positions that Donald Trump has promised him. Whether or not he would get confirmed is an open question, right? You have Merck and Collins on the Help Committee. They're not going to vote to get Kennedy into any confirmable position.
See?
But I've heard that Trump's campaign believes that it is worth the fight. And so if he were to win, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a fight and a debate over Kennedy being in a confirmable position. But
see what I was talking about? It's challenging to make this happen. Will he be in a confirmable position? Will the Democrats or Republicans win the Senate? It's challenging. Bringing these people in is a challenging thing.
But what's also notable is the Maha thing, as you noted. Donald Trump really never mentioned that before Kennedy got on board.
Yes.
But they really embraced Kennedy's sort of obsession with public health and with, the obesity crisis and with childhood chronic illnesses. And that's what the campaign has added in the last few months upon bringing Kennedy on board. And they're really letting Kennedy sort of run that aspect of their campaign, from my understanding.
That's really.
And that was a hard part, right? Bring them in, how that works. It is very challenging to do. And I do think they've turned the ship around. I do think they have. I think they have absolutely, turned it around. So Kentucky said, that's not petty, that's vengeful. Well, he's a traitor. Yes, he's a traitor. So they got to get him. What are the options they have? Right? Absolutely. Matt Nomad says, by the way, I'm a woman, ex-Democrat, now independent, voted Unity Party. Look at you go. Awesome. I like people who go independent. That's awesome. I love that. Yes. Chrissy says, I think Illinois will turn to a red state. I do not. Illinois has been losing population forever, and it's a lot of people who are red. So it's the same thing as New York. I don't see that at all. Yes. IC says, Stein gets some RFK and much of the Muslim vote. Yes. Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. 100%. So Jennifer says, why doesn't Rogan set it up? I don't know. I would assume that Rogan doesn't really care much about Stein. She's probably not going to be anywhere near as big of a draw as other people could bring on. She doesn't have any realistic chance of winning the election. So, I mean, the only way that she wins the election, and it is a really stretch. It's a real stretch. It is if somehow she wins Michigan and somehow Trump doesn't get 270. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how, but that would be the only way that she has a chance of winning. And then she doesn't mean she's going to win, but then she'd have a chance because the election, she's number 3. I don't know how that works, but I got to tell you, it wouldn't matter if Trump didn't get 270 and didn't get 26 states. Again, I don't know how that works. Trump might still win it anyway, but the exception here is she at least would be in the running, and it'd be amazing for the Green Party. So it would still be helpful, but I don't know how she does it. I don't think there's value for him in that regard. Otherwise, why wouldn't he? I'm sure she'd go on. I'm just saying if I'm the Republicans, I call in my favor right now. Right? I call it in right now. I go, look, do me a favor. We did this. We gave you these guys. Both came to you. Harris wouldn't do it. You owe me. Put her on. Put her on. That's what I'd be doing right now. So that was my point. So anyway. All righty. Let's see here. Ganjan88 says, Larry, you think similar to me, the regular meatheads aren't even thinking strategically. Yes, I get it. Yeah. Yep. Mad Nomad. Thanks, Larry. Nomad. Sorry, M. Misunderstood. No worries. All good. All good. Well, we are totally fine. All good. Ganjan says, Vance is sketchy. That's funny. Mike says, Harris team is only loyal while they get a check and elections undecided. They will be gone 1 hour after election when results say Trump. Sadly, I think you are correct. Sadly for them, I think you are correct. IC says 92% of Harris staffers left. Are you exaggerating, IC, or is that real data? If that's a real data point, could you do me a favor if that's a real data point and let me know where you got the data? I don't know the number. People have been telling me that. A lot of people have been telling me how she's had horrible turnover, but I haven't found any story or anything to find out what that number is or how that is. Now, if you just exaggerate, no worries, tell me that you're teasing and joking, but if it's real, I'd love to hear where you got that. So yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Thomas says there's a slim chance Virginia can flip red. Not if you've seen what's happened in Virginia, I'm not sure. Northern Virginia now dominates Virginia like it used to not do in the past. Now it really does. And it's all because people are flocking to DC to grift. I'm not joking when I say that. That's the reason why. As America becomes more of a, hold on. Neil Ferguson said this recently. He said, Neil Ferguson said that America's becoming very Soviet. And one of the examples of that is where everything's at the Capitol through government. So more and more people move towards the Capitol. That's been happening in America for the past 30 years, give or take 40 years. So DC has become the center of everything. And when that happens, all the people move there. So a lot of people who are grifters, who are establishment, have moved into Northern Virginia. And it's very, very, very blue. Super Weapons, thank you for the $5. Can you explain how the Electoral College process works in a concise way as it relates to who the delegates are and how they're chosen and cast votes? Sure. All right. First thing, this is the only time in your voting history where you don't actually vote for the person. What does that mean? In every other time, when you cast a vote, with the exception of the president, you are voting for that person. So your mayor, you're voting for the mayor. The city council, congressman, assemblyman. You're voting for that person. In the case of the president, you are not voting for the president. Let me say it again. You are not voting for the president. You are voting for the president's electors. That's who you're voting for. In America, we don't vote for the president. We do not have a direct democracy in that regard when it comes to our president. We don't. It's kind of similar to what the other countries have who have prime ministers. They don't directly vote for the prime minister. They vote for the members of parliament. Members of parliament select the prime minister, right? So the people don't vote for the prime minister of England, of the UK. I'm sorry, those people, they vote for the ministers, and then the ministers select a prime minister. The members of parliament select we have a similar in this regard electors. Now, the question is, who selects electors? Well, theoretically, the individual does. So I could choose my own electors, right? If I'm running for president, I pick my own electors. I must pick my electors from every single state. So what actually happens, generally speaking, the parties select the electors and the candidate goes, okay. So you're voting, say, for the sake of New York, say, there's 28 electors. You have to pick all 28. These are individual people who live within the state who are registered to vote. That's who you vote for. Those 28 electors in New York State, or 40 in Texas, 53, is it? I think in California, whatever that number is, right? You pick those people, and that's the list. You're actually voting for the electors. You're not voting for the candidate. Well, Larry, why does that matter? Because with the exception of certain states, those electors are not bound. Certain states do bind their electors. There's a couple, 6 or 7. There aren't that many. Most states do not bind their electors. So the electors now decide to vote for the president. They all go together in Electoral College. They show up, and then they vote for the president. So in theory, could they all show up and vote for somebody else? Yes, they could. They could do so. Yes. They don't. I mean, once in a while, you have what's called a rogue elector. You have one guy or gal who goes, I don't care, I'm voting for Ron Paul. That does happen here or there. It's grossly rare, but every once in a while it does happen. So the parties pick the electors, sometimes individuals do. In the case of Bobby Kennedy Jr., him and his team picked every one of them themselves. They picked. Literally, you pick any citizen from that state who's registered to vote, they can become an elector. That's how it works. Those people agree that they will physically show up in DC in January. Remember the whole J, the number after 5? I don't want to say it because I get banned. J, the number after 5. Remember that? That was the date that all the electors were supposed to show up. Remember the slate of bad electors? Remember that whole idea, right? So the slate is supposed to be okayed by the states. The states okay the slate, and they go up there, agreed by whatever happens. Once they all get there to the DC, they all vote. Again, some states do bind the elector, meaning that some states say by law that you must vote for the guy or gal who selected you. Not all states say that. So they could swap electors. And then whoever gets 270 votes from the electors, in theory, they could be from different states. It could be half and half and whatever. Could be, if you want to. It's possible, but it doesn't happen. What happens is the electors almost always do as the states tell them to do. They just do it. And the people you're selecting are loyal people, right? Why would you select, right? Why would the Democratic or Republican parties pick me as an elector? I'm not Democrat or Republican. I vote for who I want, right? So I'm not bound in New York, so I do what I want, right? I show up there, I might vote for your guy, gal, I may not, right? So I'm never getting picked. But if they pick me, I'd be an elector, and I go over there and do it. So that's how that actually works. They are chosen usually by the parties, and usually by the state parties, where the state parties know who's loyal. And usually they usually pick people as a reward, right, to go down there. And then a party can pay for them to go down there. They have a trip down to DC. That's what usually happens. But it could also be an individual could pick their own. Right? If I run for president, I pick my own electors in every state, right? Or if I was running as Libertarian, I'd probably just have Libertarian Party people pick electors for me. I probably wouldn't do it. I'd say, you guys pick loyal Libertarians. And that would be it. That's what I would do. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear. They all go and they all vote. As long as someone gets 270, that person wins. So, all righty. I hope I explained that well enough. I will check and see if I can find. I'll look down and see if I can find one. You guys tell me how wrong I was, how I screwed it up if I did. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure that was good. All right. Finish this up here.
Interesting, actually.
Yeah. From my perspective, heightening attention on all of those chronic problems is a wonderful thing. His solutions sometimes kind of coming out. I'm not so sure about that.
Well, what I think is interesting about
it, at least it's like attention on it.
Just the idea of we all know Republican campaign operatives, and we know Republican campaign consultants, really blue blazer crowd that changed a little bit when Trump got into the picture, but not entirely. And so to even have them, to the point you just made, genuinely outsourcing some outreach to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his motley band of heterodox, interesting, eccentrics, that's actually a pretty crazy dynamic, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show, A, how close this presidential race is, but B, how the thinking inside Trump world has really changed. You have Tulsi Gabbard also that they brought in. So you do have some of these folks that, in 2016, it would have been, it's still eyebrow raising, but in 2016, it would have probably been unheard of. I can't imagine that have happening and have being happened in 2016. And now
the only reason why I brought that up is I wanted you guys to see that this can be challenging, bringing more people in who aren't part of your issue, right? That can be challenging. And it was. You heard me complaining about it last month. If you're watching, I was complaining. I was like, is this going to work? How can you do it? They're doing it now. It's worked, right? Enough people were on board to make that happen. So yes. The AC says, weren't a bunch of those ex-Biden staffers or vice versa? Yes. Now, thank you for bringing this up, AC. What she tried to do, or someone told her, which I think was smart, is, again, this is because of pettiness. If Harris walks in and goes, okay, here's my campaign team. You know, it's not you, Biden people. It's my people that I'm bringing in. Well, then the people who are currently working for Biden go, oh, we about to lose our jobs. How do we backstab her? I wish I was joking again. I'm not. They're going to be looking, okay, let's backstab her and see if we can get the Trump people to give me something. I'll start leaking data. I'll start leaking stuff. I'll start backstabbing her. So Trump people will bring me on board when Trump wins this thing because I'm going to lose my job when Biden's gone. You might go, Larry, but that's how it works. So she thought she was being slick. She picked the same transition team guy that Biden had and thought, I'll keep all those people because this way I don't get screwed. Seems to make sure. Okay, great. You do that. But then you don't work well with them and they hate you and they leave. Well, that didn't go well, did it? But yeah, that's how it is. IC says, real data live. Thank you. Yes, when you have a moment, if you could, let me see if I'll reach out to you a bit later and see if I can grab you on that one. I appreciate that. I do want to see that. I do. All righty. Let's see if I can grab some of these if I can. Hold on. Okay, Thomas says, I'm one of the 16 libertarian electors in North Carolina. There we go. Yes. There we go. 100%, right? You find people who can do it, they become one. Absolutely. I might be one in New York. I don't even know. I might be. They might have asked me. I would have said yes. I don't even know if I am. So yes. Sue Weapon says, thank you, Larry. The part of the Constitution I couldn't understand was who actually selects the electors. These electors are members of a state legislature solely, just any citizen. No, they can be any citizen. They can be members of legislation. It's possible they can. Remember, for the guys that don't realize, in the Constitution, we didn't vote for the senators either, right? America was not set up as a direct democracy, except the local level. At the local level, America was set up as a direct democracy at the local level. Like we were set up to be like, we all vote for our mayor directly, like that kind of thing. America was set up as a direct democracy at the lower level it was. Even mostly at the state level, it was set up as a direct democracy at the state level. At the federal level, it was not set up that way. It was not set up that way at all. The senators were picked by state assemblies. That's how it is in the state assemblies pick the senator. They just go, you're the senator. We don't vote for him. We vote for our assembly. Our assembly selects the senator. We vote for electors. They go up and they pick a president. So our country was not set up as a direct democracy at the federal level, only at the local level. People say we're not a democracy. We are at the local level, not at the federal level. And we become more of a democracy at the state level, but we're still not. But we more, because now at least we vote directly for senators at least. So a bit more of a democracy, a little bit, but not really. We're really not that. But the local level, and also the idea of I guess ballot initiatives also makes us more of a direct democracy at the local level. Again, local level, we're much more of a direct democracy than we are at the federal level. We're really not at all. So yeah, that's how that works. And some people get mad, but well, we're a democracy. We are, again, local level. We kind of are, just not at the national level at all. So yeah, I hope that was clear. I think I'm done with that piece. Guys, I'm going to ask one more time if I could. Click the button known as like. I know I bug you. It does matter. If you haven't shared on Facebook, please do so. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube page, subscribe. Either one, Facebook, either Larry Sharpe or Sharpe Way, either one, I don't mind. Thank you for all the super chats. I love all of them. Become a member. Right after, about a week after the election, I'm going to have a member-only show. Might have maybe one a month or so, something like that. Some little reward. You guys can chat. And what will happen in that show is it'll be very few people, obviously, because it'll only be members. And we'll be more intimate, obviously. And I'll probably let you guys come on physically if you want to. Just kind of come on. I'll send you the link. You can come on physically and chat if you want to make that happen also. A little bit better for the members. And you'll also have more control of what we're talking about. Right? The members show will be more. You have more control of what we're talking about. Now, I do already ask you what you want. I try to give you stuff. I just can't give it to you right before election. I still will do a keto show. And I've been talking about it. I still will do a keto show. I will still do a Star Trek show. I will still do a contextual language show. I got them written out when I want to do them. I will do all three of them. You asked, I will. The member only stuff will be a reward for extra things you might want. That's why I'll use that. So yes. Andrea says, I think all politicians should have to take a constitution test every term. That's not bad. Thomas says, in North Carolina, sitting legislators or elected officials can't be electors. Oh, is that right? That, if I remember right, that's not a federal law. It must be a state law. I don't think that's a federal law. I'm trying to think. I don't think that's a federal law. I think that's state by state. So there we go. I didn't know that. Good to know. So in that case, you cannot be one. There we go. I don't remember that. I don't think that's federal. I could be off on that. Anyway, guys, I want to say thank you so much for today. I appreciate all the time you gave me. I hope it was an interesting show, talking about some more inside baseball, understanding how things work, how the system actually works here or there. I will be on tomorrow. I might be, I'm doing an AMA tomorrow. So any questions you have, open AMA tomorrow. I'll be doing that. I may talk about the Vance thing. I don't know if I will. And it may not be worth it. I haven't watched it. I'll see. But I will try to see if that will work. But no matter what, AMA, Saturday, I'll be doing a charity. I will be doing a charity on Saturday. So I will not be able to do this at all. I will see you all very soon.